Hello everybody, welcome to the second video of Monday. This video is going to go over Diablo Spotlight's just dropped. It shows a lot of the buffs that Kabam are planning to be putting in. So let's go and have a look at it. Also going to be spending time like flipping between what's in game currently and as well what is on the Spotlight, which you can find in the link in the description down below. So here we go. The mechanic and how Kabam feel that the champion should be played is that the King of Potions has returned and you're doing SP2s, Special Attack 1, combined with medium 2 and heavy stacks as many poisons as you can on the opponent for some massive damage over time. His brand new pre-fights give Diablo pinpoint precision on what kind of utility he needs at the drop of a hat, which is cool. It's kind of like many other champions with pre-fights, your Sorcerer Supreme, Stealthy Spidey, except for obviously with this one the play narrative is that, look, I need a type of utility, which I guess is kind of like War Machine. So yeah, well, what's going to really change with it? I mean, it doesn't really kind of like say right off the bat what is the change of playstyle, but there's also an increase of damage based on the signature ability, and it looks like the more heavily awakened the champion you have, the more damage he's going to do. While poisoned, Diablo takes 30% reduced damage from all sources. While the opponent is poisoned, however, Diablo gains 547.26 attack rating, and that will probably be quite low and then extended out. So will this give the extra amount of damage that you need from this champion? It's going to be really difficult to tell, and we'll have to wait till he's in and players have played about with him with that signature ability to kind of go like, look, does he need to be awakened to be more potent? So yeah, let's continue on. It doesn't seem like there's much from that signature ability, but again, let's move on and talk about the other stuff. And looking in game and looking back, it's a stark reminder as to like how little interest I have in this character based on how just overcomplicated for little output this champion is, and how like he's just not enjoyable in the current state. The idea of like, okay, well, I'll switch between these type of ones, but I only have X amount of volume, and the rotation is kind of a bit meh to kind of rotate around in order to do said types of attacks, whether or not I'm in one type of Ember Boon, or the Counterflow concoction, or the Life Stitch concoction. It just kind of felt like it's overcomplicated for what it needs to be. So there needs to be a simplification. This is going to be the big telling factor right now as to whether the champion has that kind of more simple way to get on with it and also enjoy it. So the champion gets some good energy resistance and as well gets minus potency on poison effects, which I think was similar things that the champion had in the previous time, and basic attacks deal energy damage instead of physical. Fine. There does seem to be a level of complexity still though, and I think it just like falls on the pre-fight, which is that you can add 3 alchemy ingredients to the Philosopher's Mix passive for the fight. So it's like, right, so I've got to like think about something extra that's kind of all about stacking to create ingredients for a potion. So again, it kind of does tap into some of the complexities that were there previously. But yeah, at the end of the day, the complexity seems to be there in some ways, especially with the Philosopher's Mix. And the Philosopher's Mix lasts 8 seconds per special attack, used and heals Diablo for X amount of health. That obviously will change with number. It also gains effect based on which ingredients were added to the pre-fight menu, which I assume is going to be Distilled Will, Essence of Null, and Grain of Uru, which is incoming energy damage caused Diablo to passively heal 70% of the damage taken. So. And then the other stuff is like I get to nullify a buff and gain immunity to stun effects and armor break debuffs. So these could be very important elements to the utility narrative of what you take this champion in. And that's really cool. The main part of this champion seems to be all about poison damage, which I think is probably the most crucial thing, to have one element that's kind of less complex in its delivery. So unless otherwise stated, Diablo's poison debuffs inflict 1,488.52 direct damage over 14 seconds and reduce healing effects by 30%. Great. Heavy attacks, each hit has a 100% chance to inflict a poison debuff, and a medium attack 2, 75% chance to inflict a poison debuff. So you are stacking those poison bits of damage, which is going to mean that this champion is more interesting to players. A quick scan and a quick check in game just kind of like confirms what I was hoping, in that amount of poison damage and the rotations of keeping it on seem to be a lot more efficient, especially with with what we've had in the past. Like on screen now is the one from Diablo in game, and then we go back to the one that's kind of like going to be coming soon. And it just feels like the extent of keeping poison damage up and finding a new narrative for dot damage over time damages, it's just more consistent. And that's something that I was, apart from the complexity, which the champion does keep to a degree, and this will be the thing, how easy to understand will Philosopher's Mix and Master Alchemist with pre-fight stuff, how it will kind of like give you a more of a feel towards, is this champion better, is it more fun, those kind of things. But the SP3, what did Kabam say? After using the special 3, it's super easy to combo your SP2 and SP1 from 3 bars of power. And this one's all about, this attack can only be used once per fight, and the attack gains 1094 attack rating. It also gains, I suppose it was more than that, and this champion would be too OP. Potentially. I'll have to see it, check it out. And with ingredients have been added to the Philosopher's Mix. Distilled Will, gain regeneration passive, dealing 2835 health. Place 10 detonate buffs on the opponent, which lasts 20 seconds, and deal a burst of 437 energy damage when they expire or are nullified. Get Grain of Uru, Philosopher's Mix is paused for 10 seconds, and for each Vial of Might, 100% chance to inflict 2 poison debuffs. And I guess this really is going to be the narrative around this champion, and that is poison damage. Yeah, you could say with some of the other elements of utility to the factor to this character, but yeah, it's great to have another option that does poison damage. Because a lot of the times you're going to look at stuff like poison vulnerability, and with a lot of the variants that come up from time to time, it's like, oh, do you have a Mystic champion that can do this lane, do this particular section of this variant? And it's like, I need someone with this poison damage. And it's like, this is an option. This is actually a relatively cool option to have. Depends how sustainable it's going to be with stuff with key survivability and having regeneration, because that's going to be a thing to test. But yeah, it looks relatively impressive enough from what I've seen. Lots of little bits of complexities with understanding the Master Alchemist and how that plays into the narrative of you kind of making sure that you've got the right thing to combo the right thing, how you build them as well, because that's going to be another thing, like how you build the Philosopher's Mix and the methods to do it and stuff like that. That's the other element of understanding, which I think can only be done when we start playing the champion. A lot of work has gone into changing little things, but it retains some elements to this concoction-based thing with this Distilled Will, Essence of Null, Grain of Uru. So, in some ways, I see a lot of changes, but I'm still very much kind of like on the fence until this is in, whether or not it's going to be like a drastic change from what we've seen right here, and like the complex scuff and meh that is Diablo in its current form against the new one. So, still really exciting to see what's going to happen. We'll be doing some tests next week when the update goes live. Thank you very much for watching this video. And make sure as well to hit up some of the content recently posted up there. Thank you very much for watching, as I just said. And I'll see you all very soon. Live stream later on. Thank you and bye-bye.